Hello, and welcome to Aberone's Armorial. Today I'm going to be talking about one other thing that I probably should have touched on in a previous video of mine about chiefs, chieftains, and clansmen. And that is, what is a Highland clan or a Scottish clan? Well, that's the thing. A lot of people have varying definitions on it. I'm going to try and explain it based on both a historical example and kind of what Lord Lyon is using today to try and define a clan. So there is a few things that we need to hash out term-wise. First one is clan. The second one is Armigerous family. Third one is sept. And sept is a word that not a lot of people like in the academic world, and that will be elaborated on further. So going back to clans. Now, a clan just means family. Clans have been around for hundreds, maybe 1,000 years. We have some references referring to certain groups as clans back in the 10th, 11th century. They don't really get solidified until the 12th and 13th. And the modern, what we think of clans today, really didn't evolve until 1600s. Yeah, I'd say late 15, early 1600s is when the modern notion of a Highland clan basically evolved. Now, there is some debate whether clans were merely a Highland thing, merely a Lowland thing. And in my personal definition, I would say it was both. It was definitely more so a Highland thing, but as some of those clans expanded or younger cadet lines branched out and moved southernly or were granted lands by the Scottish kings in the Lowlands, clans kind of became a normal part of both sides. You'll often hear Lowland clans referred to as houses. This was a practice in the 1800s. I haven't really been able to find many examples really like self-describing groups as houses for a long time. But if you go to a Highland Games today, you might come across a tent that might say the House of Blank, like Gordon. It's a clan, but if you go somewhere, a lot of times they'll have it labeled as the House of Gordon, for example. House of Johnstone, for example. Now, the current definition of a clan, to be considered a full clan, you have to have a chief that is recognized by a Lord Lyon, and you have to be a member of the Standing Council of Scottish Chiefs. Now that's the big thing. So, Clan Donald, my clan, for example, we have a current chief. We have a high chief, actually, which makes us a little unique. But we still have a chief. He is recognized by Lord Lyon, and he is a member of the Standing Council. All of the Clan Donald chiefs are actually members of the Standing Council, but all of the members are members of the Standing Council. Now, for example, the Stuarts or the McIntyres, they were clans at one point or another, but since they do not have a living chief and they don't have a representative on the Standing Council, they are not technically a clan. They are currently considered what is called an Armigerous family, meaning that there is a kinship, there is a historic clan there, but the chiefly line is either extinct or was executed at one point or another. It no longer exists in the chiefly line. So there are arms for a former chief allowed, and if the clan ever bands together and decides to elect a representative, or they find somebody to be elected chief, those undifferenced arms are then granted to them by Lord Lyon, thus making it a fully fledged clan again. And at that point, they are extended an invitation to the Standing Council of Scottish Chiefs. Now, there is also the idea of Lowland Families. Again, the Lowland Families are just the sometimes used name for clans in the Lowlands. The idea of a clan, like I said, dates back to about the 12th century is probably a good starting point to put it, where they start solidifying. And they are kind of unique because it is a blend of the English and continental style of feudal baronies merged with the older Dalriatan and Gallic traditions of maternal line families and things like that. Now, because of that, a lot of people think today that, oh, my clan is really what my mother's last name is, and it's not true. The other part that people often talk about is, oh, my last name is this, so I'm automatically this clan. Clans are weird. Clans are often like Native American tribes, and if you studied the French and Indian War or just colonial America, and you study a little bit about Eastern Woodlands Native Americans, you will draw this comparison very quickly. And it was the same in the Highlands. The idea is that you can be born into a clan by being of the main line of whoever is the leader of the clan. You could be born to a cadet line, so it's one of the chief's younger sons or younger brothers, that sort of thing. That you can be born to that line, and that makes you a member. And at those points, you're both probably going to share the same surname as the chiefly line. Then there's the extent of people who lived in the area, so the tenants of the chief. Because again, chiefs were the ones who owned property. They were lairds. Now, I will go on a rant later about the term laird in a completely separate video, which might happen tonight. But they were the lord of the land. They owned, and they were the main landlord. That's how it works. So whoever you paid your taxes to, you might take their surname, or there might be your own surname, but you're in that clan because you're under that chief's protection. You pay your taxes to them. So just because you have a last name that's listed as a sept, which I will get to in a moment, doesn't mean you're automatically that clan. You have to prove that you were from that area. Your ancestor, for a significant amount of time, lived in that area and paid their due to that local chief. That would make them a member of that clan. That's your clanship, basically. So, for example, I'm a MacDonald. My last name is MacDonald. Ergo, automatically, I am a MacDonald because of that. Now, there is, let me think, for example, King. King is a surname that is associated with MacDonald. It is considered a sept. Now, what a sept is this list that basically started, this idea that started coming up in the 1800s, especially with the whole Highland revival movement that was pushed by Victoria and Albert. The idea of a sept is that there were subsidiary families that were cadets, but they weren't heraldically cadets. So they were major families inside of an area, inside of a chief's territory or land. Ergo, they're automatically part of the clan via last name. Which, again, if you actually study and you actually look at it, to be an actual sept or a interdeterminate cadet of a chiefly line, you would have to be one of these septs. You would have to prove that you lived, or your family lived, on an exact plot of land and paid their taxes to a certain chief to be considered a member of that clan. So, for example, we have people whose last name was King in the MacDonald lands, but they were only from one island. But the same surname King shows up in 5 other clans. I can think of McGregors, Campbells, McLeods, and Bruces, who all have the surname King. But again, it's a common surname, that sort of thing. Or Smith. There are Smiths in every clan, but there is no clan Smith. That's the other thing. Not every last name has a clan attached to it. There is a very finite number of clans. The number is getting larger and larger over the years as more groups have become independent, but that's something to cover later. Now, the idea of a laird is one that a lot of people get confused with. Now, yes, the term laird does exist. Yes, people used it, but it wasn't an actual title. It was more of it was a nickname. For all intents and purposes, it was a nickname. If you've ever seen Downton Abbey or any period drama, the servants, they don't refer to so-and-so as, oh, my lord. It is my lord, whatever, something like that. Or his lordship, that sort of thing. It's the same thing. The tenants of a property might refer to their landlord as the laird. So it's not an actual title. And to call yourself a laird is kind of pompous, and not only that, in Scotland, does not carry the greatest cultural memory using that term. Why? Because in the 18th century, a lot of the lairds, or not 18th century, in the 19th century, a lot of the lairds basically sold their tenants as slaves off to North America, Australia, New Zealand, the like, because there was better investment in sheep, and, well, I want to place sheep on my land. Too bad there's all these pesky tenants away. Oh, I know, I'll hire a boat and I'll force the army to push these people onto a boat. Look up the Highland clearances. It was horrific. Not saying that's anything against any modern chief. I want to make that very clear. A lot of people today are very anti-clan because former chiefs did that, or former chieftains did that. And guess what? A lot of people from many different backgrounds were involved in the clearances, so blaming it on modern chiefs is pointless. But that just goes to show using the term laird is kind of pointless. It's kind of like there's a company called Highland Titles that is now very active in Europe because it has been sued out of existence in the United Kingdom and the US. And for $30 or some ridiculously low arbitrary amount, you can buy 1 square plot of land, and that makes you a laird because you own land. That's not at all how it works in the governmental or landowning or real estate system of Scotland. Buying a plot of land does not automatically make you a laird. And that's going to be another topic, because that's where you get into land ownership and territorial designations and how that relates to armory, and I'll get into that later. But, so you have your clan, you have your septs. Now let's talk about Armigerous families. Armigerous families are quite interesting because over the past 20 to 40 years, many of them have achieved the status and rank of a full clan. Now, what that means is they either had a chief at one point and over the years have garnered a large enough following that their clan society or whatever, there's a natural leader that might have a distant connection to a previous chiefly line. So they work with the Court of Lord Lion. The Court of Lord Lion basically appoints somebody to oversee the process of an election where all the people who want to make a claim to be the new chief put out their genealogies, put out their claims, and they try to convince all of the male, this is the point, this is one of the weird quirks, to vote in one of these elections. You have to be direct male line descent of that clan or of that former chiefly line. So the voting pool might be smaller. But the other thing is, this person can only be picked from what's called the Dún Ísel, and I probably butchered that pronunciation. My Gaelic is really bad, I apologize. Basically, those are the Armigers of that clan or family. So you pick that person, they get elected, Lord Lion says, congratulations, you're the chief, here's the undifferenced arms, and puts you on the standing council. That person is a chief. That makes their entire family now a clan, and not just an Armigerous family. Now, there are some Armigerous families who probably will stay Armigerous families forever. And because of that, some of those have decided to fall under larger clans. So, for example, the Curries for a long time were underneath and were often considered a cadet branch of the MacDonalds of Clan Ranald. And over the years, they've started to realize, oh, we actually have people trained among our family in several clans. So recently, Lord Lion appointed a commander and has elevated this Armigerous family, this cadet line, into being the process of becoming a clan. They're actually not going to be called a clan. They're going to be called the Learned Kindred of Curry, which is a topic for a whole nother video that's really fascinating. But for all intents and purposes, they will be a new clan that's been basically created out of thin air. Now, there's also, historically, way back, there were fully fledged clans that were created from chieftains. So, for example, the MacIans of Ardnamurchan MacIan was the younger son or younger brother of Angus Og MacDonald, and he went and got a huge plot of land after Scotland won its independence, and basically started his own clan, and the king basically said, yeah, fine, you're a clan. You have a big enough following, you're a clan. And over the years, some of those have drifted back into being Armigerous families, or they are cadet lines run by a chieftain inside of a larger clan. Now, clans today, what they actually do. Now, it used to be that the clans were very much a social and a military construct. Nowadays, it is very much a familial thing. Clan chiefs are often very kind, they're very active, and they usually use their society, their clan society or their clan itself, to promote Scottish culture in Scotland and abroad in the greater diaspora, usually in America, Canada, New Zealand, Australia, that sort of thing. And to an extent, some parts in the continent, like in France and Germany, where a lot of Jacobites left. So clans today are very much just large families. My clan society, for example, we do a lot of academic research. We have a nonprofit that keeps a large arbor and gardens going over in Scotland on the former castle grounds. The castle is now since derelict. We also offer scholarships and things like that. So clans are really just genealogical societies nowadays. They do have historic and great cultural traditions that should not be understated. Oftentimes, they still run functions of like a baron court and things like that. They're not so much a military or everyday landowning thing these days. Some chiefs do still have tenants, some are still landlords, but many of them are not. And they're obviously not going to call up armies anytime soon. So clans these days have become just big families. We still gather, we still have fun, we still enjoy our heraldic history, we still enjoy a wee dram now and then. Not gonna lie. So there's very much a lot of things that go into the Highland clans these days. And for all intents and purposes, they are the last continuation on the world in Europe and the continent of feudal society. And it's very much it's a kindred. It's a very much a family. It's a very much just a large group of people who will help each other. So with that, I will leave you. If you have any other questions, feel free to comment. Please remember to like and subscribe to my videos. It gives me a better chance to put out new content, and it gives me the opportunity to know what people would like to see. So thank you again. I'll leave you here tonight. Have a great night.